Ladies and gentlemen, pay attention. This is your boy, the coach from the WWE. I would like to welcome you to the very first wrestling podcast in the world to take you on a weekly deep dive into classic matches along with legends of the squared circle. Enjoy the discussion. Enjoy the back and forth. There's so much to get into. Ladies and gentlemen, this is The Payoff.
It's true. It's true. It's an all-new episode of The Payoff. I'm Tom. That's Jeff. Did you see what I did there?
I did, yeah. I feel like you used the catchphrase of a wrestler to start a wrestling podcast. That was pretty good. Good job.
Hey, you forgot to plug our shit last week, so make sure you do it this week.
I did, of course. So let's just start right out of the gate here. Of course, don't forget, our title sponsor. It's been that way, since I feel like for half the show at this point. We love them, Manscaped. Make sure that you're going to their website, manscaped.com, checking out all of their great stuff, some of their new stuff. Like it took me about 2 seconds before I ordered that beard trimmer. It's fantastic. I got that full package with all the different beard care stuff. It's the last piece for me. My downstairs was looking good. It's time for the upstairs to look good. And so, and I was buying cheap ones. So definitely go there. Of course, using the promo code as we have out there, just pay off, getting you 20% off and free shipping, everything in the store. It's absolutely worth it. It's only 10% if you're just going to the website and signing up. Use our code to get 20% off and free shipping. Payoff at manscaped.com. And of course, we can't forget True Classic Tees as well, too. All kinds of, it's not just tees. It's anything you could want. Weather's getting a little bit warmer. Maybe we need some new t-shirts. Maybe we need something, just to look our best, whatever it might be, using that one. That is Payoff25 at trueclassictees.com, getting you there 25% off. So make sure, check out both their stores. Hey, maybe you need a gift. Maybe it's just, you got a little bit extra Christmas money, whatever it is. Let's spend it and make the most of it at Manscaped and True Classic Tees. So, all right, let's get into this one.
It's time for...
Oh, it's time for the build.
All right, so why did you pick this? And I will tell you that I maybe kind of vaguely remember that this match occurred, but not really. So I'm really curious, what show was this? How do we get to this match?
Yeah.
Where was this? I mean, you got to fill me in on everything, but I'm really looking forward to it. And you're going to run through the card. Yes, I can't pronounce any of these guys' names.
Yes, I'm the New Japan guy around here. You're our ECW guy, so that's all right. So yeah, so this one you're looking at. It would have been February 17th, 2008. We have a unification match at this point. Taking at the Kokugaikan National Sumo Arena. And so apologies for when I'm even butchering some of this stuff. And so this was one, though, where it really kind of where did it come from? So let's go back to that question, of course, of this was a match that I don't even remember where I first found it, but it was when I was like, hang on, it was if I remember right, it was a list of top Shinsuke and Nakamura matches. Wait a minute, Kurt Angle and Shinsuke Nakamura had a match in 2008, after his WWE career. What the hell? How did this play out? Kind of what happened here? This is just kind of crazy. And so the show, not a ton of big names. There is some on here just to run through some of it. It opened up with an 8-man tag match actually on this one. Naito's on here. I see his name, Tiger Mask as well too. Just a bunch of different people in that 8-man. Then you had Christopher Daniels in a singles match against Wataru Inoue. And then another 8-man tag match working with the stables at this point. So you had Legend and Great GBH, Great Bash Heel taking on each other. And then another tag title, a smaller tag title match for the IWGP Junior Heavyweight, where you had, of course, Prince Devitt, who's we all know, of course, is Finn Balor at this point. It was Minoru and Prince Devitt taking on Akira and Jushin Thunder Liger. And so that was one, too, that I added to our list of just having in 2008, Finn Balor, who, going by Prince Devitt and Jushin Thunder Liger in a match. Like, that's one where you it's just kind of crazy to think about, but one that I want to make sure that we had on our list. Of course, getting into the big matches now, a singles match. Of course, we all know AJ Styles, we all know that name, taking on Tanahashi in that one. And so a good match there. And then, another tag, a lot of tag title match, or just tag team matches on this one. But eventually it gets to the main reason for this show, Shinsuke Nakamura taking on Kurt Angle. So there's some kind of weird stuff of how this played out. And so, laying out the different belts and kind of how we have it on this one, you have the IWGP third belt and the IWGP Heavyweight Championship belt, and this is the unification for those. And so the Inoki Genome Federation, the IGF, it was their championship and New Japan's championship as well too. And so to give the background on this, so Brock Lesnar actually had the title for 280 days. He defended it a couple different times, and then eventually, kind of behind the scenes, backstage policy or politics and things like that, he ended up no showing a title defense. And so New Japan actually stripped Lesnar of the championship. This would have been July 15th, 2006. And so 2 years, really 18 months before any of this happened. And so at the time, Lesnar said it was visa issues plus New Japan owing him money, which is why he didn't show up. And so after all of this, you actually had Antonio Inoki, who we've covered his matches before, this very a big name, of kind of how all these things, a founder of New Japan. He decided to create this new promotion, the IGF. And so you have both New Japan and IGF at this point. And so, but the IGF still recognized Lesnar as the IWGP Heavyweight Championship because he never lost the belt. And of course, at the time, whether this was, just what's out there now or whatever it is, because Brock still had the belt. And so I don't know if that means like Brock has had it in his suitcase. It's one of those where I think it was not that long ago. I remember we heard the story of like the belt getting stolen out of someone's car. I don't know if that was the case. And so or kind of what the deal is at that point. But New Japan having their belts already at this point, they decided to start calling it the IWGP Third Belt Championship and not the IWGP Heavyweight Championship. We're getting into the technical part at this point, but pretty much like he didn't show up. And so, and this was, who knows the behind the scenes at this point of, working together, who was what was going on. There was still the crossover for the different stories and things like that, but it pretty much boiling down to Brock never lost the belt, and so they were going to keep a belt on him, but New Japan wasn't going to recognize that belt fully. So that's why a lot of times you see the third belt champion, and it will what they were calling it at the time. And so, and Brock also in this other promotion that New Japan founder Antonio Inoki had started after all of this had played out. So separate to that, of course, you have now. Why are we talking about Brock Lesnar in this match when it's Kurt Angle and Shinsuke Nakamura? Because you have to set it up and understand kind of where this is coming from, but also because Angle was the one that beat Brock. And so Angle actually debuting. And so, like I said, this all kind of taking place in mid 2006. In mid 2007, you had, early 2007, February, actually, you had Angle debuting in New Japan. And so with that happening, he actually teamed with an IWGP wrestler and a TNA wrestler. And at WWE, it was really kind of weird. And so, but after that, though, he eventually went on, he actually faced Brock Lesnar in this IGF match. It was June 2007. He actually beat Brock by submission to win the IWGP Heavyweight Championship, this third belt. So, You actually had him defending it a couple different times. It was actually it was Wrestle Kingdom 2 in the Tokyo Dome. And so it feels crazy like now where we're at with what Wrestle Kingdom is. So you had him, it was actually Yuji Nagata, him beating him at that point. So Angle has that belt at this point coming into this match. And so Nakamura at this point, he actually had challenged Brock back in 2006 and early 2006 for at the time when he was still in New Japan. So Nakamura lost and then kind of went away, he actually did like go away for a little bit. He trained in some different places. He actually kind of bulked up a little bit. And so, it was actually, and so this was kind of funny because it was back in this point in 2006. There was rumors out there that Nakamura was going to be quote unquote loaned to the WWE so that he could get a North American wrestling experience because he traveled all over. He was in Mexico, Brazil. He actually trained in Lesnar's gym as well too. And so in New Japan, a lot of that storyline, trying to learn that way and then kind of beat Brock. But, kind of crazy that the thing that stopped Nakamura from actually coming and doing some time in WWE in 2006 was because, like we said, Brock no-showed. And so Nakamura had to get back in order to kind of help build the storylines back up because Brock with the belt, they needed someone that could, kind of go after him. And so at this point, it was actually Nakamura beating Tanahashi at that Wrestle Kingdom 2 show in the Tokyo Dome. That was January 4th, 2008. Him winning the IWGP Heavyweight Championship. And so you've got, like I said, it's kind of tough to follow with all the names and stuff like that, but you've got the two belts and these guys taking on each other to unify them. And it is Antonio Inoki's IGF and now the, New Japan belt so that these guys can have a match. And so, like I said, there was really no matches or anything between these guys before this up to this point, but it was because we needed to, unify the belts, and this is how we're going to do it.
Man, there two observations. Number one is there's a lot there, and number two is I knew none of it.
Right, I didn't either. Like before I started doing my research on this one, like I knew that there was the different. I'd always seen third belt, but even me, like I hadn't really fully looked into why some of that was always the case, or there's this weird period and. Like, like almost like last week where you got all these big names on an NXT show, you got all these big names on this New Japan show, eventually, getting to this point. And so it's crazy to think in 2008, which literally 15 years ago at this point, 15 years ago, Shinsuke Nakamura and Kurt Angle had a match. Like if you were to say that, like people would be like, what? Like, what are you talking about? But here we are.
Jeez. Huh.
So
yeah,
there you go.
A lot there, man. A lot there.
Yep.
Good. Well, I'm pumped. I'm really pumped to cover this one. I guess there's a link to this match. Where in the hell did you find this?
It just kind of Google the match itself, and the match there. So it's a long video, but the match itself is on the shorter side on this one. We're gonna pick it up just before the match starts, but just kind of we'll get into it.
Yeah, we'll post the link. It's the 14-minute mark of this link. I'm ready if you're ready, Jeff.
Yeah, I haven't seen any of this. Let's do this.
Yeah, I'm really excited. This is like a whole new frontier. So let's get into it. It's time for the payoff.
Oh, it's time for the payoff.
Heavyweight champion of the world. This is Kurt Angle.
Got the introductions.
Getting booed.
第48代 IWGP ヘビー級チャンピオン188センチ111キロ Nakamura Shinsuke!
救世主としてベルトを取り戻せ中村俊輔。
レッドシューズ運動。
He looks so different.
He does. The haircut, like it's really the just that kind of young lion kind of haircut that a lot of them have and stuff like that. So yeah, it's just kind of crazy the look he has. Yep.
It was funny. I was going back and looking on Cage Match at some of Shinsuke's top matches, and I mean, there's just a ton of like 5-star, 4 3/4, 4.5-star matches from like
a ton.
13, 14, 15, 16, like in that range. A ton of them. Just pretty crazy. Yep. Some even going back to 2013. But yeah, so this is 2008. Wow.
Yeah, and those kind of later matches would have definitely been some of his Wrestle Kingdom stuff, and as he really the dramatic Shinsuke, if you will, the glorious entrances and things like that. Everyone always loves the stripper pole entrances, where he's got the strippers on the because he's coming down, and so but being kind of being known for that type of stuff as well too, and so yeah. But this is really, I mean, and now. To speak to this too, like this would have been like I'll say not post WWE Kurt, but it's post his major runs in WWE. And so like him out over here doing this, like this was after he had left WWE. So he had a name. Now, whether that was outside of the US, who knows? And Shinsuke, was a younger at this point as well too, but obviously makes sense just with kind of how they know things are playing out with who's the face and who's the heel here. A side headlock here from Kurt.
Yeah, I mean, Angle looks so much different too.
How do you feel they used him in the Raw 30? Do you think they did a good job with the DX segment?
I was like trying to think of what they even did with him. Sure.
Yeah.
Because here's the thing. Like the DX thing, they do the same shit every time. It's kind of, I'm fine with them being on there, but it's kind of lame. So anything to do something different, I actually thought was pretty funny.
Yeah.
I get, so this is so stupid, but it just shows you what a fucking Shawn Michaels mark I am. So like when like Road Dogg like jokes around about being fat, I'm like, well, yeah, he is. Okay, haha, he's not in shape. Triple H kind of backs off because, well, he has heart problems and he almost died. I'm totally fine with that. I will tell you that I get kind of annoyed when Shawn Michaels does I'm not getting involved. Like he's still in phenomenal shape, and
right, he's probably in the best shape outside of
No matter what he says, he could go out there and have a 20-minute, 4.5-star match tomorrow if he wanted to. Okay, so it's just kind of annoying when they do that. And again, I'm not saying he should have super kicked Gunther and all that, but like it just pisses me off because I know he still can. So I don't like the like, oh shucks, old guy, we're all gonna back off. But I liked what they did with it. I thought it was fun, right? And I mean, like, it's interesting. Yep. I thought that it was interesting that I know of at least 2 guys that said no to invites: Kevin Nash and Mick Foley.
Yes.
It's just like for most of these guys, they end up in that backstage poker game. And can you imagine like flying up there to like be on, again, but it's like, what are you supposed to do? Like was Kurt Angle supposed to go out there and do a 15-minute match in the main event? Like, I don't know. But I do feel like as great as Triple H is doing, I don't feel like he's been able to improve on the formula for these anniversary shows at all. And they're just always so disappointing. And like, even like, and I don't know how long ago it was, but like, even when they did that, like Brock Lesnar, Hulk Hogan face off, like that's cool. And I know it's not going anywhere and it's not building to anything, but it's like, I like that. Like, I would actually like to see, Shawn Michaels super kick someone, or like Taker Bray, badass, right? So like I guess I say what I'm saying is that I like the serious stuff more than the campy stuff. Like, if you want to do the campy backstage poker, fine. But if you're going to put Kurt Angle in the ring, like, I want him either physically involved or, like, at least physically, like, up against someone. Like, the Hulk Hogan face-off against someone, like, even if when Hogan came out, so you let him do his thing, and then all of a sudden pick someone. Gunther, Seth Rollins, I don't care. But you have someone come out just in their entrance face-to-face with Hulk Hogan. And then just keep walking. Yes, I know that Hogan's not going to wrestle that guy at WrestleMania. But those moments, I would far rather that than a bunch of campy shit with all these legends.
Well, and I don't know if you read it. I did see it in the aftermath of, like, there was a little bit of an uproar over, is a poker game? Like, how many times have we seen this poker game set up? Is this the best you can do with some of these legends? Like, is this like all we have? They also got a lot of shit. Like, I know the Bellas came out after and weren't happy about what they were going to do. And there was not a whole lot of, women divas kind of focus or, in that stuff. Granted, there's only so much time and there's only so many people that can be there.
And you're bringing 8 women back on Saturday for the Royal Rumble.
Right. Yeah. And so
Michelle McCool wasn't on Raw. Yeah, because she had a really cool entrance on Saturday.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
which makes sense. Yeah.
I thought that was kind of stupid to say, oh, well, there weren't, yeah, but I mean, and how many people can you put on these things?
Yeah, you only got 3 hours. I get it. Like, okay, certain segments run long. Like, that's just how it's going to happen. But, like, okay, that's wrestling. Like, let's be real here.
Let me give you another one. Unfortunately, there's not a ton of women that you can bring back. You're not putting Sunny on TV. Sable's not going on TV. Lita and Trish, we've done that 100 times. Like, and frankly, if you're going to bring Lita and Trish back, it should be for a match because both those women can still fucking go. And they can damn near headline a show. I mean, you look at what Lita did in her run recently. Trish still has it. So it's like you're probably not going to bring them back unless you're building to a match at WrestleMania, right?
Trish still comes back for the Canada shows to get the cheap pop.
So what I'm saying is, like, who's left? Okay, the Bellas didn't like how they were going to be used, but it's like, yeah, we could just grab like those Kelly types and Michelle McCool types from the Divas era. Oh, but we put them on the Rumble in a few days anyway. So what's left?
Right. And a lot of them too, you can't, like, okay, Mickie James is doing her own thing in a different promotion. So you're not going to bring her back. Like you talk about the women and okay. And then, and even then, like, of course, like, do I care that Nia Jax was 30? No, I really don't. Like, I think I even texted you or maybe it was somebody else or in my group chat. Like, I was just like, okay, I give it 3 months until she hurts somebody, which I don't even think she's back full time. And so, we're kind of dealing with that.
I'm just not a fan. I'm not a fan because it seems like her personality doesn't necessarily mesh well in the locker room. Her presentation, I just think, and it's no different on the men's side either, where when you have someone that is, and it's like an Omos, right? Where it's like, Omos, like, what do you do with them when they're that much bigger? It's like, you either present them as a badass, invincible monster, but then that kind of runs its course. Or you make them like everyone else, and it's like, well, if Nia Jax is just going to bump like everyone else, then what's the point? So I don't know. I'm just not a fan of really anything about her. I like her entrance music.
Right. It's even when they botch the entrance.
Yeah. By the way,
which that was not her. Yeah, so you got Kurt got Kurt got the upper hand early here. You got Nakamura kind of fighting back, though, at this point. They're fast paced, like, there's the New Japan style is these guys are just kind of working fit.
Angle slam off the top rope. I love when he does that. So shoulder straps.
Yeah.
Down.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Still has the straps up. We should, I do want to point that out. Yep. It hasn't come down yet. So, what's Nakamura doing here? Second rope, third rope. Yep. Oh, Angle just popping up, knocking him down. Good stuff. Yep. Yeah, absolutely. So, and we keep hearing, you know, do you think in our lifetime we will see the absolute super show? Are we going to get New Japan,
No.
AEW? Are we going to get the big three on one show?
So here a couple thoughts. First of all, doing one promotion versus the other, the problem is you go in everything is cold. I mean, unless you're going to do like a 6-week build where everyone's going to be on everyone's shows, it's just too difficult to get 3 different casts of characters or 2.
Oh, straps down. Want to point out. There we go.
It's just too difficult to get them on every show to build it. So if you just do cold dream matches, no interest. Like, I have no interest in, this is a star, they're going to have a 20-minute match. Okay. Like, even like some of those Survivor Series things where they would do Raw champion versus SmackDown champion. Like, don't get me wrong, like, they were good matches, but there's really no build. Oh, this is Brock, this is Drew. Okay. Or whoever they've done in some of those. So I don't like that. The other problem you have too is it's like inevitably one side's not going to look as good. And then it's just, so you do like the 50-50 booking. I don't know. I just have no interest. And here's another thing, Jeff. How many people watch all of these promotions? Now you're catering to like literally 200,000 people that watch WWE and AEW and New Japan.
Mm-hmm.
So I know that, everyone on Twitter watches all 3. Okay, but understand that in the real world, you're talking a couple 100,000 people. So like, you're not going to make any money with it. So I just, there's just a lot of reasons why I say no. Maybe you could do a dream match of some sort, but again, someone's got to win. So if you said, hey, we're going to take our 3 world champions and, okay.
How do you pick who wins? Like, Roman isn't going to lose. Like, because who's going to bankroll the thing? WWE. So your WWE champ's not going to lose. So, like, yeah, it's just, there's just no way.
Like, I mean, there are, so like, could you see a scenario where Reigns, Rollins, and Moxley were in a match together? Hell yeah. But guess what? Reigns ain't losing.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
So is Tony
who would it be at this point? It would be Mox versus Reigns versus Okada. Well, like, yeah, that's just like, and they're not about to have Okada lose either. So like, the logistics of it, as much as you may want to see it, like, it's just not going to happen. Oh, what do we got here? So yeah, I'm right. If I remember,
these guys haven't stopped.
No, they haven't. We've had some near falls here too at this one. Kurt has looked great too, by the way. Like he did do. Oh, right. Yep. Ankle locks all over the place. Yeah.
This is probably the tail end of his prime.
Yeah.
His prime is
like I said, it's after his WWE run. Yeah.
Yeah, like kind of like end of WWE into this. I mean, like, basically his peak is like 2000 to 2010. And I give or take. I mean, I'd have to look at the cards and kind of where he was, but I mean, he was just on fire.
Yeah, and this was
Kurt Angle
long ankle lock here.
Did Kurt Angle and Cody do some independent shows together?
And we haven't talked about Cody being on Impossible yet, and whatever Logan Paul's podcast is here. I don't know. We're gonna have to look into it because I didn't realize Cody did as much time like wrestling on indie stuff after he left that he did and before AEW, and so there very well could be.
It was a couple years. It was probably like 2 years.
There's got to be some Cody matches that, like, like he was even saying on that show, like in a gym, 50 people, 100 people, in some activity center somewhere where he wrestled someone where it's like you said, like, wait a minute, like Cody wrestled Bryan Danielson, or Cody wrestled Seth Rollins, like what the hell? We've got a Nakamura win at this point. Celebrating. That is, do you see whose shoulders he's on? If I'm correct, that is Matt Bloom. Doing some time in New Japan in 2008.
What did he go by there?
That's a great question. I don't know.
I feel like I should know. Like, I feel like when maybe it was just Matt Bloom. I don't know. Let me see if I can find it. I'm kind of curious, and then we'll move on here. All Japan. He was Giant Bernard.
Yep.
New Japan. I don't know. Yeah, Bernard.
They were in a stable together. Yep. Okay. Yep. Got it. Okay.
Which was a reference to Brute Bernard, who was a Canadian professional wrestler. Never
there you go.
Heard of him. There you go.
Should have.
Bloom unsuccessfully challenged Brock Lesnar in 2006.
Yikes. Yeah. There you go.
Watch. All right. Let's get into the aftermath.
Yep.
Ho! It's time for the aftermath.
All right. So what'd you think?
Good match. I thought that it was, it's such a weird kind of microcosm of the wrestling universe because this, Kurt and Shinsuke, two huge names, it unified the belts like New Japan and all this. Like, that's a huge moment for this. And it just feels weird that, like, I almost feel like this gets lost in the history of wrestling of, like, these guys had a really big match that had gigantic consequences before either of these. I say before Shinsuke was really Shinsuke Nakamura, but Kurt Angle was a huge name at this point, at least in the US. And so, and they're kind of celebrating post ring, like Kurt's raising Shinsuke's arm and stuff like that. And so, and really impressive for me. I enjoyed the match more than I thought I was going to.
Yeah, me too. I mean, it just, the only thing, I mean, it's just tough for two reasons. One is I still get upset when, like, Kurt Angle wasn't doing these matches in WWE at WrestleMania in his, like, true prime or for long enough during his prime. And then Shinsuke, I feel like we haven't used him to the best of his abilities. Like, we've gotten close a few times, and maybe he physically doesn't have what he once did, but, like, his Mania match against AJ was kind of a dud.
Yeah, that one was a dud. That was like, they didn't let that one be what it should have been. And I don't think it ever could have been, even if it just wasn't going to happen under a Vince regime. Great guy. Like, you and I got to meet him. I got a picture with him, when he first, in his earlier NXT days. I remember, like, and when he came over to NXT, he was so, like, over, like it's, we talk about this from time to time when you and I had our visit to the Performance Center, our day contracts, of course, when you were commissioner and I was a ring announcer. But we had a mini card that they put on for us, and all Shinsuke did was his entrance. He didn't even wrestle a match. They just had him come out and do his entrance. And so that's, like, the star power that this guy has of, like, what he's capable of doing and who he is. And so, yeah. So, okay, so what happened in the aftermath on this one? So as Angle lost the match, the IGF recognized IWGP Heavyweight Championship was no more. And so you now have the New Japan belt. And so Angle on this one, he actually came back. It was a show in August during the G1 Climax, of course, their tournament that they have, to lead up to Wrestle Kingdom for the main event here. He actually it was a tag match, but he had some matches with AJ Styles. Nakamura actually partnering with with Angle in this, where you had Tanahashi and AJ tagged as well too. So it's actually a 6-way tag, but Angle actually during the G1 tag, these matches, like Angle's team won. And so it's him, Shinsuke, and Masahiro Chono. And so like interesting to see how just where who wrestles who and stuff like this. It was actually Wrestle Kingdom 3 where he had a 8-man tag match that he was a part of. Some of the names in this tag match that are kind of shocking to me was you had Ricky Chozu, you had Chono, again, Kevin Nash, which I had no idea that Kevin Nash was in a Wrestle Kingdom match. It was an 8-man tag. It was the opposing team as well too. You had Carl Anderson on the other team. And so just kind of crazy. And again, Angle getting the win there. And so at this point too, you had so it was actually Hiroshi Tanahashi retaining the IWGP Championship against Nakamura in the main event of Wrestle Kingdom 3. Angle actually challenged Tanahashi for the title, which was accepted, and then he beat Angle on April 5th. It was New Japan Resolution to retain the title. And so just really the more you dig into this, the more you're like, shit, now I got to go watch an 8-man tag with Kevin Nash in New Japan. I want to see how those AJ matches ranked where you had Nakamura and AJ tagging with Kurt and, Hiroshi Tanahashi. And so just these giant names is just kind of crazy. And so to kind of look at that, Nakamura on the flip side to this one, he actually lost the belt, the unified belt, not too long after this one, in April, and then kind of forming the heel stable, if you will, Chaos as well too. Nakamura being their leader. This is where, and it's weird because this is where he also, up to this point, this match was not a lot of strong style that we watched today, but this is where he started doing a little bit more of this, of using the kind of knees, kind of being more aggressive in the ring as well too. He actually, the Bumaye, his finisher, the knee the finisher itself hasn't evolved. The name has changed. And so, having all the Bumaye for the longest time, he was actually undefeated with that move something. So of course called the Kinshasa in NXT and WWE as well too. And so, and so it just, him and then Nakamura is so early in his career. We'll talk about more later, I'm sure. But yeah, these guys just really doing their thing in New Japan. That's really what it boiled down to here. So crazy thing, in 2008, his post WWE career, Angle was number 2 on the PWI. So he was the number 2 wrestler of that year. Nakamura coming in at number 10 on this one. And so it's funny to think in 2008, the number 1 wrestler was Randy Orton. And so crazy to think this stuff that Nakamura was doing over in New Japan. Even I was curious too. I was like, man, so in 2008, your PWI, Randy Orton was number 1. You had Kurt Angle, Triple H was 3, Samoa Joe was 4, Edge was 5, Undertaker 6, Michael 7. So it's just kind of crazy to see, what some of these guys did. The torch on this one, as expected, IWGP champion Shinsuke Nakamura beat IWGP 3rd belt champion Kurt Angle in a unification match in the main event. The match only went 13:55, but was said to be excellent. They traded all the submission attempts at the end, and Nakamura reversed out of the ankle lock into a cross arm breaker for a clean submission. It's abundantly clear now that Inoki's IGF promotion and New Japan are working together and probably have been working together since day one. And so, of course, like we said at the top of the show, Antonio Inoki left quote unquote, like left New Japan to start IGF. And so I'm wondering if this was almost like a weird deal of like how Vince was bankrolling ECW for a long time and none of us knew about it. Like same thing here, like, Inoki bankrolling, his promotion, like kind of building some other stars, things like that. So Tom, where do you got this match?
So I'll give it a 7.5. And maybe some of it's just my ignorance of not, knowing more about the storylines and everything. I mean, I thought the actual match, like just watching the match, was fantastic. So again, it's more like the pageantry surrounding it that I either didn't understand or didn't see. And but I mean, I liked it. So that was a really good match.
Yeah.
What about you?
I'm right there with you. It's 7.5. I'm right there with you as well too. I thought that it's such a weird. The story I thought was almost better than the match. Like there's so much revolving around it. There's so much happening. Like you got all these different angles that you're coming at it from. Not Kurt, like and overall. I just felt like it very much. It's a vital point in the history of New Japan and Japan wrestling. And so, and to have two wrestlers that like, we know the story now in 2023, like, okay, so they were like, at this point, like Nakamura was a name, but it was a fairly, big name, but not anything like he is now. Same with Kurt, like, okay, he's the foreigner coming over, after his WWE career, but I still think, it's such a monumental moment. It's just really cool. Yeah. Let's send him home happy.
Yeah, I got no complaints here. That was a fun one. And next week, Jeff, is a really, really, really big moment for me. Do you know why?
Why?
I have never, I'm embarrassed to say this, but we're all friends here. I have never watched start to finish a Ric Flair versus Ricky Steamboat match.
Other than on the show, I know I have over the years, but this is one that I have not next week, and so
I've never seen this. I've never seen this match.
So next week, kind of spoilers for everybody here. We got the Chi-Town Rumble 1989, Ric Flair and Ricky Steamboat kind of kicking off some of their 5-star matches, really. So this should be
when they say is the best.
I'm not the best. It's up there. We'll talk about it next week. Okay. It is definitely one of their top matches ever. Yep. And so this should be interesting, definitely to talk about.
Good. Well, I'm excited. This was a fun one. Good work finding this. And we'll see everyone next week on an all-new episode of The Payoff.